Hello makers and welcome back to Making with Miss Del Russ. Alright, we're going to try a new type of design today. It's called Zentangle design and it's based on making patterns with lines and shapes. And to start off, we're going to do a line study and we're going to brainstorm a list of all different kinds of lines, okay? And this is just some, but you can come up with as many different kinds of lines as you want. And then we're going to take those lines and then we are going to start and we're going to make some really cool patterns using the different kinds of lines. Straight lines, curved lines, zigzag lines, all different kinds of lines. And then at the end we're going to use a black Sharpie or pencil and we're going to color those in to make them pop and give them some depth. Now these are just some examples, but the types of patterns that you can make are endless. And then the next two projects that we're going to do, we're going to use these patterns to fill in some cool art pieces. And I think you're really going to like it. And Zentangle art is a combination of two words, Zen and tangle. And Zen refers to the fact that it's a meditative art. It is an art that people think is calming and relaxing to do repetitive patterns. Okay? So I hope that you really slow down, relax, don't rush it, put some music on, enjoy making these patterns. And then the other part is, it says Zentangle. And so these are called patterns that are kind of like a tangle of lines. So each of these patterns are unique and they're all tangled up. And when you put them all together, they look really cool. And a lot of these designs do not use color, just black and white. All right? All right, for this project, you need some paper. You need a black Sharpie, a thin black Sharpie with a thin line right there. And you need a pencil and an eraser. Now, if you don't have a Sharpie, that's okay. You can just use a pencil to make these two. And then you need something round to trace around. This is like a lid to a random container. And I actually think I might use this cup. We want the diameter right here to be about 2 to 3 inches, okay? Because we're going to try to fit about 3 across on our paper. So before we start tracing our circles, we want to kind of space it out. So you're going to want to start in the corner. And I like to start with a pencil because then if you mess up, you can just go over it. You can erase it. All right. So remember, when you're tracing something, you need to hold the top of it so it doesn't move. And it's okay if you mess up. And now I'm putting these really close together because I'm trying to fit 3 on my paper. In fact, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to do it. All right. Let's see. I can barely get that on. Okay, so I'll try to do better on the next row. All right, so when you're done, you can erase the pencil marks if you want. And also, if you don't have anything to trace around, you can just freehand draw circles. And if you have a different shape, like a square, you can do a square too. Mostly we just need some shapes to draw stuff in it. Okay. So we are going to put a different pattern in each of these circles. And we're going to use these patterns this week to color in really cool designs called Zentangle designs. Now you can't go wrong with this. You just pick one of your lines that we talked about before. So here's my guide for my lines that I can use, right? And I'm going to start with straight lines. Just straight lines, vertical and checkered. And I'm going to see what I can do. I could probably fill this whole thing up with just patterns with lines. So you can use a ruler if you want, but I think to start, just have fun with it and go freehand. So I'm going to do vertical lines. Now the thing with a pattern is you want to make sure that you're doing about the same distance apart, right? Part of making a pattern is you're repeating, whatever you're doing, you're repeating it. So I'm drawing vertical lines. All right. Now I could just leave this pattern here, like this. But I think I'm going to do a checkered. So I'm going to turn it on its side. I'm going to do diagonal lines here. right, so here is my first try at doing some line patterns. I used straight lines for this part. I tried to use some curved lines for this, and here I put some curved lines that came out like a spider web. And then here I tried to use some zigzag lines, but I broke with my zigzag lines and I just did kind of a flower pattern here. Now, the next step of this is to fill it in, and not with color, with just black and white. So you may want to get a black marker for this, and this is when we fill in. You leave some areas white and you leave some area, you fill in others black, and that's called filling in the negative space. So, for instance, you see my flower design. If I fill in this spot right here, in between, behind the design, that's the negative space. And when you do that, it gives your design some depth. It kind of makes it pop a little bit. So try filling in some of the spaces. And if you don't have a Sharpie, you can do this with a pencil. So I can show you that too. Let's see. So I'll color in this one right here. So for zigzag lines, I might just color in the zigzag and leave the background white. We're just trying to experiment with patterns here. So whatever you do is fine. And whatever you do, you just want to repeat it, okay? And the cool thing with these patterns is you can keep on going with them. So I could leave my pattern just with the zigzag lines, and I could color it in like this, or I can even add more, right? I can add some design in this white area. So it's up to you. So here we have a checkerboard design. I could leave it like that, or I could take the time to fill this in kind of like a checkerboard design. And this takes time, and you don't want to rush it, right? We just want to take our time. This art form is actually called Zentangle, and it is considered a form of meditation because some people believe that doing repetitive patterns can be really calming, and it can be a form of meditation because all you're thinking about is drawing the pattern, and you can not think about the things in life that are stressing you out or making you angry or sad or unhappy, and you can just focus on the art. So as you can see, this takes a lot of time. So I've just started to do the checker pattern. So I could leave it like this, or I can fill it in. Right here I did stripes. If you want, I could fill in a pattern. I could do like every other. So whatever you want to do, it's all good. It's all about making patterns. So whatever you do, just repeat it. And you need to add in some dark or some black, and that will help give your pattern some depth. And depth helps it make it pop a little bit. Alright? So here I have my spider web, and I can put some straight lines in it like this. All right, so here you go. You can see that I'm starting to work on my patterns and I'm starting to fill them in. I'm not done at all. And you can make these as complicated as you want, or you can make them as simple as you want. You can keep them with lines, but I highly recommend with some to put some of the negative space colored in dark because it'll help make your patterns pop. All right, the cool thing with this is you can't go wrong as long as you repeat a pattern. You're going to make all cool kinds of patterns, and then the rest of this week we're going to use these patterns to fill in some cool art. All right, have fun with it, and don't forget to take a picture of your work and share it with me. All right, so here we go. I just spent about 20 minutes filling this in. I got really into it. It was really calming and relaxing, and you see how when you add a little bit of black, especially in the negative space, it makes the designs pop and it helps give them some depth. So this is just a practice project. We're going to go from learning a bunch of different lines and then taking those lines to create some really cool patterns, okay? And then tomorrow and the next day, our next two projects, we're going to be using some of these patterns, or maybe we're going to create new patterns, and we're going to be adding them to our designs. And it's going to look really cool, and I think you're going to really like it. But I really encourage you to, put some music on, relax, go slow, don't rush the process. Because I realized when I was doing this, if I was trying to rush it, I kind of messed it up a little bit. But and also I noticed that sometimes the simpler patterns are the ones I like the best. So for me, I really like this one and this one. I like the checkerboard. I like this one. There's so many different patterns, and you don't have to color them in all the time either. So I hope you come up with some cool ones. I know you will. And that's all for today. So in the meantime, stay safe out there and keep on making. All right, we'll see you tomorrow.